Hello there. We're going to be talking about a pretty big question today. What do the numbers tell us about the future of tax here in the UK? Now, this entire breakdown has been put together by the experts at Pro Tax Accountant, one of the country's most trusted accounting firms. And we're going to kick things off with a pretty staggering idea. What if I told you the tax we're all paying is part of a national tax burden that's heading for a level we haven't seen since just after the Second World War? Let's get into what that really means for you. Right, let's start with just one number, 41.8%. That is the official forecast for the UK's total tax take by the 2027-28 tax year. To put that into perspective, that's a level we have not seen since the late 1960s. So the big question is, what does this actually mean for your wallet, for your business, and for your future? Well, we're about to find out. And as I mentioned, all the data and the analysis that we're looking at today comes directly from the team at Pro Tax Accountant. So you know you're getting a clear professional view on what is really going on with our taxes.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the national tax bill. To really understand what's happening, you kind of have to get your head around the sheer scale of it all. Probably the best way to think about the UK's total tax take is like the country's own household income. It's the money that keeps the lights on and everything running.
And here it is, the government's total receipts for the 2024 to 25 financial year, a mind-boggling £1.139 trillion. That figure is the same as 39% of the entire UK economy. It's a number so big it's hard to really picture, but the crucial part is figuring out where on earth it's all coming from. So how does that giant bill get paid? Well, most of it comes from just a few key places. Income tax alone, that's the money taken directly from our wages, makes up 27%. Then when you add in national insurance contributions and VAT, you've got over half of all government money coming from just three taxes. Three taxes that affect almost every single one of us every single day. Now, a high tax burden isn't totally new, but the level we're getting to, well, that's certainly new for our generation. This timeline shows you how it's kind of ebbed and flowed over the years. We saw peaks after the war, a real low point back in the early 90s, and then a steady climb. The key thing to see here is that after a dip following the 2008 financial crisis, we are now heading towards a sustained peak not seen in most of our lifetimes.
So we know where the money's coming from, but let's break that down a bit more, because the really interesting question is, who is actually paying the lion's share of all this? The answer might not be what you think. Just take a look at this. This chart tells the story of income tax in the UK. The top 1% of earners, we're talking people with incomes over about £200,000, pay a massive 29% of all the income tax collected. Now expand that to the top 10%, and you'll see they are shouldering 60% of the total income tax bill. Meanwhile, the bottom 50% of taxpayers contribute around 10%. It's an incredibly concentrated system. But it's not all about the headline tax rates. There's something far more subtle going on that affects millions of us, and you'll want to hear this part because this is what catches a lot of people out. It's a thing called fiscal drag, but honestly, a much better name for it is the stealth tax. Here's how it works. The government freezes the earnings level where you start paying tax, or where you start paying a higher rate. But as your wages hopefully go up with inflation, more and more of your money gets dragged over those frozen lines into a higher tax bracket. It's a bit like trying to run up an escalator that's going down. You have to run faster and faster just to stand still.
Let's make this real. Imagine a freelance designer up in Manchester. She's working hard, she gets a well-deserved pay rise from £50,000 to $55,000 over a few years. On paper, that's a 10% increase. Sounds great, right? But because those tax thresholds haven't moved an inch, a bigger chunk of her new money is taxed at a higher rate. The result? Her actual take-home pay only goes up by 6.4%. That money that just disappears, that is fiscal drag in action.
And believe me, this isn't some small accounting quirk. The scale of this policy is absolutely immense. Official forecasts show that just by freezing these thresholds, the government is set to raise an extra £44 billion a year. For millions of ordinary working people, this is the single biggest reason their tax bills are going up, even when the tax rates themselves haven't actually changed. Okay, if you're a business owner, you'll definitely want to tune in for this next part, because the changes don't just affect personal tax, they have a huge impact on companies too. Stay with me. This affects nearly every small business in the UK. So let's look at employer national insurance. There's a sort of three-pronged change going on here. First, the rate is going up. Second, the threshold where you start paying it for an employee is actually coming down, which means more of their wages are subject to the tax.
Now, to try and balance this, third, the employment allowance is rising, which is designed to help the very smallest businesses. So for, say, a small cafe owner in Birmingham looking to hire a new barista, this makes the cost of hiring someone more complicated and, for a lot of businesses, more expensive.
Next up, corporation tax. The old, simple, flat rate of 19%, well, that's gone. Now we have a tiered system. If your profits are under £50,000, you're still on the 19% rate, which is good. But if your profits are over $250,000, you're now paying a main rate of 25%. And for all those businesses in the middle, the calculation is more complex, with the tax rate gradually stepping up. It's a huge change from the old, simple, flat rate we all got used to. And here's a quick pro tip from the team at ProTax Accountant. It's not just the big headline rates you need to keep an eye on. The tax-free dividend allowance? It's been slashed to just £500 a year. Dividend tax rates are set to go up again in April 2026. And even the tax on property and savings income is scheduled to rise. All these smaller changes really add up, and they directly affect how you, as a director or contractor, can efficiently take money out of your own business. So that's the picture right now. But what about tomorrow? Well, the official forecasts show that this trend of rising taxes, it's not slowing down. If anything, it's set to continue. This chart from the Office for Budget Responsibility shows the trajectory pretty clearly, doesn't it? In 2024 to 25, taxes made up about 35% of our economy. By 2028 to 29, that's forecast to climb to nearly 38%. It really reinforces that core message. The overall tax take is on a clear and sustained upward path. And here it is, the one statistic that really sums it all up. The UK's tax burden is on course to hit its highest level since 1948. That's not a typo. We are heading into a tax environment not seen in this country since the aftermath of the Second World War. Just let that sink in. So that's the picture. A rising tax burden driven by frozen thresholds and some really key changes for businesses. And that, of course, leads to a very important question for all of us. So, the big question is, what on earth do you do about all this? How do you prepare for it? How can you navigate this new, more challenging landscape to protect your personal finances and your business? Knowing what's coming is the first crucial step, but taking action is the next. Okay, before we go any further, just a quick and really important disclaimer. This information is for general guidance only. The UK tax system is incredibly complex and it's always changing. So you should always seek professional, tailored advice for your specific situation before you make any financial decisions. And this is where the experts who put this whole analysis together can really help. To navigate these changes and to plan effectively, specialist advice is absolutely key. The team at ProTax Accountant is ready to help you make sense of this new reality. All their contact details are on the screen for you now. I really hope you found this breakdown valuable. The tax landscape is clearly shifting, and the key question for all of us is, are we ready for what's coming? To stay ahead of the curve with more essential updates and clear analysis just like this one, make sure you subscribe to the ProTax Accountant channel. Thanks so much for watching.